All right, again, this is Bro Diallo, broadcasting out of Q4 Studio on the eve of St. Valentine's Day. And I'm going to keep it real with you, take it to the hill with you. I just realized it was St. Valentine's Day Eve yesterday evening. And I hope I'm right because I didn't even verify this. I think my wife was like, Valentine's Day is Thursday. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't know that. I don't follow these holidays too heavy, but I guess I should have to because I am a man of the people. I'm born by, for, and of the people. So if this is the people's holiday, then it's a holiday. I ain't tripping. But I decided, like, because in the last couple of years, Bro Diallo is going into over his third year, into my third year, I believe. Wait, yeah, I think I'm going into my third or fourth year. It's kind of fuzzy the numbers, but I every day on or around St. Valentine's Day, I've done a love show, a sex show, a romance show, a relationship show. And the reason I do this is because I don't get to talk about love, romance, sex, relationships very often. And the reason I don't is because, that's not really my thing. But my thing is radical Pan African analysis. My thing is taking a sober view of things as they are. I deal with things as they are, not how they should be. A secular, historically grounded view of things. And I think that applies to matters of the heart and the mind and the genitalia. So what I'm going to do for everybody today, is I'm going to open up the phone lines for the entire show. And if you got a question about love, if you got a question about romance, if you got a question about sex and what those words even mean and what they really are about, if you are having a relationship issue, if your issue is in there, you've been in a relationship and you want to get out, you in a relationship and your significant other wants to get out, if you in a relationship and the person don't even know, the other person doesn't know they in it with you, you got any issues in relationship, in love, if it's sexual, if it's biochemical, if it's physiological, we can go to the science. If your erection ain't where it should be, where you would have it to be, unsustainable, like capitalism, if your erection is unsustainable, like Donald Trump's presidency, we can talk about that. Ladies, if you are having trouble with your moisture, with your vaginal flora, we can go there, call in anonymously, use an alias. We can go there. If you have growths, if you need references, that's what we're going to do today. And it's all coming from a place of love. It's all coming from a place to help you have better, healthier relationships and more stimulating and abundant sex in your life on this eve of St. Valentine's Day. And the phones are open. Again, let me say that number real slow because I hate when I listen to talk radio and they blurt out the number and you don't even got time because don't nobody write. You got to get a pen. So I'm going to give out the call-in number. And you can call Bro Diallo with any of your issues. If you are tired of these Ayana Van Sants, let me say the number one more time. 312 985 7834. 312-985-7834. If you are tired of these hustlers, Ayana Van Zant, exploit my life, that's giving you all this hooky spooky answers to real material life questions, if you sick of all these people that want to tell you to wait on the Lord to send you somebody when the Lord don't exist, you waiting on somebody to tell you about chakras and burning sage and vibrational frequencies, which there is some, there is a way to do that. But many of these so-called mystics, many of these so-called mysticisms, they exploit it. They have trying to commodify this ancient traditions and mystic beliefs and folklore and superstition. I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to take it to the hill with you. I'm gonna tell you how to deal with you. I ain't gonna play games with you. So I'm just putting that out there. Today is the day. Today's the day. If y'all sick of hearing about the impending apocalypse of capitalism and global warming, melting polar ice caps, we ain't got to go there. Now, if y'all don't call in, then that's where I go. But I'm not just gonna sit here. What I'm supposed to talk about my personal business, and my personal business, I'm just fine. Everything's fine. Everything's working how it's supposed to work. Everything's going. The spark is there. You know, it's like Wendy Williams. Y'all heard of Wendy Williams? You know, let me say the number one more time. If you need, Bro Diallo, fix my life. 312 Any sex related, romance related, relationship related, your deepest desires. We can even go on. I'm not an expert on this, but I'd love to hear about it. I'll sip a little bit of the tea if you spill it about fetishes, whatever gets you off. Today's today. Because tomorrow, I get y'all ready, hooked up for tomorrow. Y'all buy all that toxic sweatshop, child labor chocolate, sweatshop produced teddy bears and 90s, all them toxic GMO pesticide laden flowers, the blood diamonds, all that stuff y'all gonna be getting for each other. I don't want to spoil it. Like, I take back everything I just said. I don't want to spoil y'all stuff. Today is about love, relationships, sex, war, economics. Wait, nope. Scratch the last two. So this is your last chance, your first chance, and your only chance till next year to talk about matters of the heart. I don't know I'm not that into R&B, but I'll even try to play some R&B love songs. If y'all want to request some love songs, that's what we're going to do today. So the lines are open. And let me make sure I can see this thing up here because they've changed the phone thing. It used to be when somebody called, it'd be a pop-up. But now there's just a little line when people call. So if I miss your call, it ain't because I ain't keeping it real with you. Like your little boyfriends, I ain't lying to you like your little boyfriend like to tell your tale. It's because they changed this thing on the screen. But I'm gonna keep looking at it. I should move it to the other screen. Too many damn screens. Everybody thinks they're so high tech. You don't need more than one screen at a time. Damn nerds over here at Q4 got me looking at 3 different screens. Anyway, I digress. Oh crap. My wife just logged on. Okay, let's just everybody be cool. Dr. Mingo, she's in our business. But I'm going to still answer it. I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all, so don't worry about it. She ain't going to spoil no show with her judgmental self. Anyway, let's progress. Until the phone light up, I'm going to just talk about what I was going to talk about. But like I said, you ain't got to be, ain't no shame to nobody's game today. I'm sick. I'm not going to try to convince y'all. If y'all don't want to call in and get love, relationship, sex, and romance advice, from an analytical Pan-African perspective, I can respect that too. But I'll give the number one more time. Or maybe all y'all life, your whole life is perfect, as good as my love life is, then go ahead. And don't bother me, I won't bother you. Stay out your business, and I won't let you into mine. But if you need some advice, if you need some insights, holla at your boy. And those other things, taboo issues, call in. 312 985 7834. 312 985 7834. And I hate that I've been on this radio station for, like I said, coming up on 3 years. I got well over 200 shows archived at DialloKenyatta.com. And if you want full access to the Bro Diallo archive dating back to my very, very first Bro Diallo show, live show, you can pull it, make it your own, download it, remix it, turn me into a liar with all the editing software y'all have. You can go all the way back to my maiden voyage if you become a Patreon supporter. And it's all there, up to date, and ready to go. So you can find that at Patreon/Diallo Kenyatta. Anyway, going once, nobody's taking me up on the offer just now? Or wait, y'all getting y'all questions together? I know what y'all doing. Y'all lighting the candles, turning down the lights, let down the shades, putting on the Luther Vandross, slipping into something comfortable, getting you some Reuniti on ice. Gonna light the fireplace or them electric plug-in fireplaces they selling everywhere now. Y'all want to set the mood before you call. I respect that. I respect that. Go ahead and do what you got to do to get in the mood, get set up, set the ambience, set the atmosphere for the call, and then you'll call in 312-985-7834. And don't be calling me about no politics. Don't be calling me about no black philosophy, ideology, struggle, protest, resistance, revolution. Just call me about sex, relationships, love, hostilities, and all that other stuff. But matters of the heart. That's all we talking about today if you call in. And if you don't call in, like I said, I got my notes here. We talk about some other things and some other people. But one thing I want to talk about. I want to send a shout out. I got two shout outs today. One shout out is going out to let me turn this off. Okay, one shout out is going out to Money Mayweather. Money Mayweather. And I so seldom get to shout out. I don't think I've ever shouted out Money Mayweather. And I've been missing out apparently because Money Mayweather is I've never watched one of his fights in totality. Real talk. I've never watched a Money Mayweather fight. And I have never done no pay-per-view, none of that. I've just kept my distance from him because personally, I've always seen him to be quite reprehensible. That's my personal opinion. And again, it's hard to criticize talented people with money because we've all been also, let me just say this. Today's a special day and I don't want nobody to miss out. If you send me a question, I ain't guaranteeing. If you send me a question on the YouTube Live or the Facebook Live, if it's related to sex, romance, relationships, and all that, if you send it on Facebook or YouTube Live, I think, yeah, I can see it here. So if you don't want to call in and get on the air because you're afraid the person you're stalking might recognize your voice, you can send it via those two mediums. And if I can, inshallah, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I will do my bestest. But anyway, so now you ain't got no excuse. You can call in 312-985-7834. You can go on YouTube into the chat. You can go on Facebook into the chat, and I'll get at you. But until then, like I was saying, I want to give a shout out to Money Mayweather. And like I said, I'm not a Mayweather fan. I mean, like I said, he's one of the most reprehensible persons. I mean, he just checks all the boxes. You know, woman beater, materialist, individual. I mean, there ain't a box of skullduggery, a box of scumbaggery that the dude doesn't check. And, you know, maybe y'all can watch these ball chasers and these gladiators and all these rich black folks, these minstrels, these modern day minstrels, and some of y'all, you know, brothers always tell me, I just like the beat. Sisters, I just like, he got a beautiful voice. I don't care. So y'all can really separate the person from the product or the artistry. You know, maybe y'all just are that sophisticated. Maybe your mind works where you can look at somebody and see them, you know, running and jumping, dunking balls, kicking in zones or whatever. You can watch somebody throwing punches and elbows and totally not think about the person. Not even think about the institutional structures that make it possible to create this global multi-billion-dollar world athletic system. And you don't think about any of that. It's just the pure pleasure. Or like you said, you can listen to a degenerate music disrespecting you, your mama, your sister, and every other living creature on the world. And if the beat is funky and the rhyme flow is right, then I just can't separate. My mind can't compartmentalize. My mind is a synthecal mind. It's not really a mind that breaks things apart. It connects all things. So even when I'm sitting down to eat my food, or I'm turning on the TV, or listening to music, my mind is always weaving all these connections. And sometimes I conclude I can't participate in this thing. I can't consume this product, whether it's a food product, whether it's a visual or an auditory product. I just, to me, if there's certain things, now there's a lot I'm willing to overlook. There are things I'm willing to ignore, but some things I can't. So I can't really look at a Mayweather fight and be like, wow, that dude could throw down. Maybe I could look at a YouTube highlight video that some other person has compiled. And that ain't sending no more money into Money Mayweather's pocket. Not that he's missing my shekels. It's not that my pesos is hurting him, obviously. I just saw 50 Cent had posted a video mocking Mayweather. And Mayweather was standing ankle deep in stacks of hundreds of dollars a bill and wearing all this gold and diamonds and drinking out of a golden chalice. I'm like, wow, man, like how? What's wrong? Something wrong with y'all? How y'all put all this money in this dude's pocket? And for what? You know, when I know myself personally, a lot of our freedom fighters are living in squalor. But that's because, you know, I guess they didn't send the right vibrations out to the universe. They ignored the secret that was made public, so it's no longer a secret. But anyway, Mayweather, send a shout out to Mayweather, my first ever shout out to Mayweather, and a shout out to Kodak Black. These are two black men of means, two black men who started from the bottom, now they here. And they both, not only did they ignore the Gucci boycott, they made statements. They felt compelled to make a public statement to say that a company that has enraged or disrespected the black community, or that many, and yeah, I mean, this to me, it ain't no, it's, you know, the sweater, and I think they consciously and deliberately did this because racism sells. Uh, they said that they're going to ignore the boycott. Kodak Black followed Money Mayweather and said he's not stopped wearing Gucci or buying Gucci. But, you know, Mayweather took it a step further. He went to a Gucci store and spent tens of thousands of dollars in seconds in defiance of the boycott. Now, it's levels to this. It's one thing for the black community to say, we don't want to deal with the NFL. The NFL has disrespected us. We appreciate Kaepernick's protest, but even beyond Kaepernick, for the NFL to deny a protest based on an issue that is paramount within the black community, and considering what the black community collectively and many black individuals have done individually to build up the NFL, we just going to abstain from watching. We're not going to watch the NFL. We're going to step back and let them know, you know, if they can't, you know, at least we don't even ask for the NFL support. We just say that we don't want them to punish those who do support us. Nobody said the NFL should do anything about police brutality, but we're like, damn, you know, we ain't asking for your open support. We're just asking that you not sanction those who do support us. And then there will be some people that are like, I'm watching my game. That's my team. I never understood grown ass men talking about my team. It's not your team, and it's not even your city, and it's not your city's team. Ain't none of that yours. Don't none of that belong to you. And to this day, if I became mayor of Chicago, which I want, because Representative Ford, Rep. Ford's going to be the next mayor of Chicago, unless y'all go fall for the okie doke again. Unless y'all fall for these fun tactics. But, you know, I say, Chicago, vote Rep. Ford. If you want some people-based policy, if you want the city hall to be open to access for, by, and of a true people's candidate, that's not owned by the Democratic machine, and also not owned by flaky, disloyal, compromised celebrities. If you want a true, competent administrator, then vote Rep. Ford. That ain't what we talking about just now. There's one thing, I think, if I became mayor of Chicago, I would make all of these teams be named for their true owners. They're not owned. The only team that's owned by the people, truly, is the Green Bay Packers. And if I had to be an NFL fan, I would be a Packers fan because the Green Bay Packers is owned by the people. It is truly the people's team. It is not owned by a conglomerate or a billionaire. And so the revenues generated by the Green Bay are redistributed amongst the people, as it should be if you're going to carry the name of the people or of the city. But all the rest, but the NFL was spooked by that because they understand socialism works. And the only way to stop socialism is if you dismantle socialism. But if you allow socialism to function, then capitalism will be in trouble because it works. So the NFL put in its charter, it grandfathered in the Green Bay Packers, but they said no other team could have the same ownership model of the Green Bay Packers. And if socialism doesn't work, if being collectively owned by the people and administered publicly, if that was such an ineffective way, why would they have to put it in the charter that it's not allowed, outlawed through the charter? Why not just allow these, this unsustainable model to collapse? And I think we should call socialism. If capitalism, they say you get too big to fail. I say that socialism is too functional to succeed. But anyway, that would be like the community says, we're done with the NFL, or we're having a boycott for an NFL. And some black folks say, I'm going to watch my team. It ain't my team. It ain't my city. But I'm delusional enough. I like to play make believe and dress up. So I'm gonna throw on this football gear and scream for my city, even though your city, you probably, they probably got your city that you're cheering for, Chicago, oh, my Bulls, my Bears. You probably got 3.5 warrants and 2 boots on your car talking about your city, treating you like dirt. You can't even walk up the block of your city without stepping on vials and needles and trash. But okay, you want to pretend like it's your city. You don't even pick up trash when you see it. But whatever. Okay, I don't know how that works in your heads. I don't know how you fix your man to conceptualize them thoughts. But, it really frustrates me. I hate to hear grown men talk like this. My team, it's not your team. My city, it's not your city. And it's not your city's team. I got to stop harping on that. I've had this discussion before, and I don't get explanations when you start to press the issue for someone's love of football. And then they really like to believe that it's their own mind. I love football. It's just what I'm into. And I'm like, it's not what you're into. It's what you're indoctrinated into. Because if you were born in Ghana or Germany, you'd be a soccer fanatic. If you were born in somewhere in the West Indies or the Great Britain, you'd be into cricket, screaming about cricket. It ain't that you one day evaluated, what type of outlets would be healthiest for me? Best suit my personality, my ambitions, my belief and value system. What will I be into? What do you know? I'm into football. That best suits. That's a wonderful outlet for me. Me personally, individually, I chose football. And what do you know? 1 billion other black men chose the exact same thing to be into on their own. We all individually, on our own, came to this same conclusion. It is a mind control technique. I tell you, you talking about Trump want to declare a national emergency to build that wall. If all black men were like, to hell with all this ball chasing. I'm done with pro sports. That would be a national emergency because they know the mind lock, the matrix is crashing. They would know, wait, man, something's going on. That's frightening. But as long as even if we protest, even if we riot and burn down Los Angeles, like we did, burn down Detroit, like we did, burn down Kansas City, like we did, we take the streets of Birmingham, we shut down bridges, they wouldn't care because they know as soon as they put on some championship game, some playoff comes on, more than half of the protesters going to clear the way. And they know our resources ain't going to nothing but keeping up with this ball chasing. It's maddening to me. I get nothing out of it. And like I said, I do appreciate athleticism. I truly do. But when you take the magnificent, sometimes superhuman athleticism and you pile all this jingoism, the American flag and national anthem, and you got these American fighter jets flying overhead and all this patriotism and all these drunk beer-smelling white folks that hate black people but love their athletes that they own, and the auctioning or trading and selling and buying of black flesh. When you pile all that on top of the athleticism, it loses. I can't just sit back and appreciate the athleticism. I used to like the fighters because at least the boxers, that's an individual. It ain't it. But then I can't even. There's not even any fighters. You know, I can't mess with it. I can't even mess with the UFC. It's just too violent for me. And all the athletes have to get drugged out of their minds so they can get there and do cockfighting. It's like human cockfight. I can't hang, man. That's why if I'm going to cycling, basketball, even martial arts, I'm going to do it on a communal level. I like sports. I love to compete. But I've decided to let my fulfillment of sports, I go watch my son play bitty basketball before I go watch the Bulls win the championship. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is example of how Mayweather and Kodak Black and a few other celebrities I suspect are about to get down with it. It's one thing to say, well, the community wants to boycott football, but I'm gonna watch me some football. I work hard. Whatever these dudes tell themselves. As if that's, so what? As if everybody else doesn't. Well, I'm gonna relax, watch me eat these chicken wings and get this diabetes and enjoy this football. But it's another thing to videotape yourself going to buy your season tickets. And then state on the videotape that you're buying season tickets, that you're doing it in defiance of the will of your community, of the fundamental call of your community. Now, I think the only time you should disrespect a boycott or criticize a boycott is if you want to take it above. If you think the boycott doesn't go far enough. I think that's the only legitimate time you should be able to boycott, to criticize a boycott. But if you are not with the boycott, if you're not with the people, or if you're not with the organization, or if you're not even with the person, there's two situations. Now, there is a caveat to that. Because Monique's boycott was not about the people, it was about her. And you can't call a collective boycott for an individual cause. I don't think that's right, especially when you don't have standing in the community. To me, that's disrespectful. You got to put your time in. So there are certain people, even comedians like Dick Gregory, like Red Fox. Red Fox was helped to keep Malcolm X afloat. Him and Malcolm X have been lifelong friends. So there's a lot of entertainers whom you wouldn't know made, positive contributions to the just aspirations of our people, that helped some of our freedom fighters and revolutionaries stay afloat. Muhammad Ali also. But you wouldn't know it because they weren't openly or overtly political, and I understand that. And if somebody coming, if you only knew what Monique was doing, if you only knew the work Monique was putting in, and I'm like, well then, she should be able to rally the people because she come for the people, so the people should come for her. But by and large, rule of thumb, if there is a community-wide boycott that you don't support, there's only one thing you should be articulating. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it goes far enough. I think black people should take a more militant step. I think black people should take a more radical step. I think that the boycott should be extended well beyond. Yeah, Newark, New Jersey. We burned down Newark, New Jersey. I think we should take it to the whole nother level. Then you should say, but if you're like, I'm going to sit this one out, which I also understand. I understand not being with the people. As someone like myself, who is so frequently not aligned with the masses of the people. I understand not being aligned with the masses. I'm not going to knee-jerk condemn you for not being aligned with the masses. But there's rules to this game. And everybody understands the G code, the street code. Everybody understands code switching. Whenever it's black people trying to get that Yankee dollar, whenever it's black people trying to align themselves with something our oppressors are doing, everybody understands there's certain codes and rules that we're all willing to follow, including Money Mayweather. Remember, Mayweather went and sat on the lap of Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett made some, was instructing him on saying, this is how you become a capitalist. This is how you sustain your riches. And I'm sure Warren Buffett was like, boy, let me tell you A, B, C, D. And I promise you, it was not a public meeting. Now, of course, Mayweather took a bunch of pictures standing with Warren Buffett and gushing over Warren Buffett and talking about, oh, this man is the greatest man and all that tomfoolery. Yeah, he did all that. But I'm pretty sure Mayweather didn't buck him on any issue. Mayweather tells the black community, I'm my own man, I'm not a follower, but I bet you he stuck his nostrils firmly between Warren Buffett's wrinkly anus, butt cheeks, and did not question, did not buck, did not dispute a word he said. How do you even say, Mayweather said, I'm going to buy Gucci, and I'm going to flaunt Gucci, and I'm going to openly disrespect. Now, maybe I need to get some background on the Gucci controversy. But I think you should know. You can look it up. But a lot of these defiant blacks, when you put them in the face of a white authority, they become puppy dogs. They follow all the rules. And it ain't just Mayweather. Remember when Dr. Umar was running around King Kong? He was King Kong of black nationalism, the Prince of Pan-Africanism. He threatened to beat up everybody from his first and second baby mama to Tariq Nasheed. He was bucking everybody, telling people don't say his name. You know, he whose name cannot be spoken. He was on some Harry Potter-ish. He said he was threatening people on the internet, don't even say his name. Even though the dude put all his business in the street, you go to Japan and get in a bubble bath on the roof of a skyscraper and you live streaming the whole thing. You obviously are an attention whore, and you got your name ringing in the streets. You just would go online and brag about being the most booked black scholar in history. You know, you talk bragging about the numbers you putting up like you running a trap house or you a damn gangster rapper. But then you turn around. But anyway, he was being tough. He was nuck if you buck. He was ready to throw down with any and everybody. And then you turn around, and a bunch of nerds from the Pennsylvania Board of Certification were like, we're going to review your license. And the dude broke down. He said he was going to leave America and go to Africa. He was going to run home he said he was giving up the movement. Said he was done with the struggle. All of that. He was just through. And he was crying, talking about, y'all got me in trouble. All these people that called a white daddy on me, and now white daddy calling me to the carpet. He gonna take away my license. He gonna take away my certification. He gonna take away my very will to live. I'm like, that's just paper. You the King Kong of Pan-Africanism. Go get you some kente cloth and write up a new certification on that. What you need the white man validation? So a lot of these tough black dudes, even with all their money, from Mayweather to Dr. Umar, they as soon as you put a little taste of white authority on them, they just crumple. But they ready to defy the whole black community, disrespect the whole black community. And I ain't forgot about Monique. When black community was like, well, you know, we have a bit of an issue with this Precious movie. And you play that the mother of Precious character. And Monique was defiant, like, whatever, y'all ain't gonna tell me what to do. And all these people that diss us and then want us to come rally behind them. And it ain't just the famous people. Y'all ever watch that TV show, The First 48? I hate that show for many reasons. But one thing that I always blows my mind, there'll be a dude that just slaughtered the whole family. And I'm not even exaggerating. There was one show where the dude shot mother, father, uncle, and even they shot a 12-year-old girl. And she played dead, and then she got up and was walking down the middle of the street with a bullet wound. And they got her in, and she told them who shot. They went on a manhunt to get this guy in the First 48. They found the weapon. He threw it down a sewage drain. And they brought him into office. This is just a man who tried to wipe out an entire bloodline. Slaughtered 3 generations of a family. And they brought him in that office, in that interrogation room, and they didn't even have to put handcuffs on him. They didn't have to subdue. I would think by the time a dude done killed 3 generations or attempted to kill 3 generations of a family, they'd have to put him in a straitjacket, tase him, submerge him in water or something. He was sitting there eating a Hostess cupcake. And then when the cop came in, he couldn't even look the cop in the eye. And he got his head down and he's mumbling under his breath. And this wasn't no gorilla cop. This wasn't The Rock. This wasn't no Mulder. This was a balding, overweight, maybe 5'3", with a big beer gut detective with a sloppy pair of uncreased slacks and an overworn shirt and a loosened tie. Just came and slumped in the chair and was like, "Come on now, tell me what's going on? I want to hear your side of the story." So all these black killers, black gangsters, black wealthy, defiant black celebrities who did everything on their own. They didn't need Rosa Parks. They didn't need Dr. King. They didn't need Malcolm X. They didn't need Marcus Garvey. They didn't need Harriet Tubman. All of the struggle, the blood, the collective action that came to allow them to strut their stuff across white folks' red carpet, they could have done it without all of that. Whenever they come face to face with just a tingle tinge of white authority, they all break down, crumble, and cry. So I don't even get upset. One thing I am thankful, the reason I shot out Kodak Black, Money Mayweather, and all these other moneyed Negroes, these Sambos, Uncle Tom, handkerchief heads, and Malcolm X call them, these black bourgeoisie with their little fiefdoms. The reason I shot them out is because I'm so happy that they're honest. To be honest with you, I have more of a problem with the race traders who pretend to be down with us. I have more admiration for the open, overt race treason of Kodak Black and who the other dude, Money Mayweather, than I could ever have for Barack Hussein Obama or Will Smith or Oprah Winfrey. These rich blacks who sell us out just as hard, but give us lip service, who set up these little hustle foundations. Those are the ones that I can't stand. And it ain't because of them. It's because of us. Because y'all falling for the same hustles, for the same okie dokes, for the same dismissals that been going on for 100 years. So when Oprah comes out with $1 billion and she opens a little rape factory in South Africa and call it a school, a little molestation palace, and she gets all these accolades, when many of these wealthy blacks extract more than they put into the black community, when many of these wealthy blacks are actually in service to our oppressors, they are actually conduits or tools set up by our oppressors, that they support the status quo above and beyond black liberation. So I'm glad when treasonous black people are open about their indifference to collective struggle, their open hostility to the working class and poor black people of America and the rest of the world. I appreciate the hell out of that. Thank you. Now I know that when Kodak Black, and they already trying to lock him up or on I think he's got a pending rape charge. I know when Money Mayweather squanders his wealth and he ends up with the ESPN documentary, how he blew all his money, I know they're going to come shuffling back to the community. They're going to rediscover their blackness. They're going to rediscover their roots. They're going to talk about how they were just, oh, I'm so happy. I'm glad I lost this money because now I realize what's really valuable in life. That's what they all say with their lying asses. And y'all going to believe them. And y'all going to rally if they face any injustice, official injustice from the system. Y'all going to rally for them. If they come crying crocodile tears after they squander their fortune and give it all back to the white people who paid it to them in the first place. Y'all gonna fall for it all. That's my problem. My problem is not about the treasonous individual. My problem is that there are no fixed protocols. There are no functional responses to race traders. And the bigger problem with that is if we do not create any incentive to serve the interest of our people. Because we show the athletes and the talented and wealthy blacks who give us true loyalty, who give us true love, they get the same consideration and level of support and admirations as the race traders. So if I'm like, why should I risk my health, my fortune, my well-being to struggle on behalf of my people when I see the people who betrayed my people get the same level of love, get the same level of adoration, get the same level of support when the system comes down on them? Why? Why should I? What incentive do we give our talented people, our black people of means? What incentive do we give them to fight with us? Not for us, but fight with us, to join with us. What incentive do we give them? And on the other side, what sanctions do we level against those who betray us? So this isn't really about, even though I appreciate what Kodak Black and Money Mayweather did, and I just wish Jay-Z and Beyonce would stop pretending to be benevolent. You know, Jay-Z and Meek Mill just started this, they said they're going to free 1 million black men from the clutches of the system. And you know, look into this. And if you look at what Jay-Z's platform, go look at the libertarian reforms. Go look at the Koch brother, Koch-funded prison defunding, prison reform, and privatization. Go look at the libertarian agenda and go look at how the right wing are trying to deregulate white collar crimes and how the prison reform movement is being taken over. The prison reform movement is being taken over by libertarian white collar criminals because they want to they want to do away with many high level trade regulations, financial services regulations. And they think that they can say, well, locking up a black kid for trying to sell an ounce of weed on the street corner is no different than locking up a CEO who collapsed the entire economy engaged in toxic asset manipulation. It's the same, and we got to reform. So we want to free both of these afflicted people. Go look it up. I'm looking into it too myself, and it's just kind of frightening. So when these wealthy blacks are talking prison reform, the ultimate benefactors of prison reform will be the white collar criminals. And they want to fully deregulate what few regulations are still put on the financial services, market, on banking. And then you have people like Prince, and not the Prince in purple, but the fascist international private military contractor. And you'll find that he has committed war crimes all across the globe, and he's a Christian conservative, but he lives in Dubai trying to duck the law. They want to reform the prison system so people like that, people like Donald Trump and all of his lackeys, Paul Manafort and Cohen and Roger Stone, so you'll find that this prison reform thing has been captured. This prison reform movement that's been going on since the late 70s in the black community, all of a sudden the wealthy blacks are on board. Because just 10 years ago, Bill Cosby and other wealthy affluent blacks were all law and order and lock them up. But now the wealthy billionaire blacks are now, we got to reform prison. Don't trust it. And if you want to see how this kind of stuff plays out, you just go back 30 years. Remember Russell Simmons, who's also on the run from the law. Russell Simmons was going to shut down the Rockefeller drug laws. Remember when rich black people decide for themselves and to throw their money behind the people's struggle, but you'll notice that they don't bring the people on board. They'll come and put up $1 million for a movement, but all of a sudden the organizations and the individuals that have been fighting these issues for decades don't get a dime of that money because they're white accountants, they're white publicists, they're white PR agents, and their white managers come to them and say, okay, we're going to do this cause. Your colored people, they I was looking, and I'm recentering myself. Oh, that's better. They come to them and they say, well, then they go off to these think tanks, and they handpick the activists. They handpick the organizations. They don't come to the grassroots. So the people you saw, now that Jay-Z and Meek Mill about to put their star power and their millions of dollars behind prison reform, look at the people that have been working on prison reforms in your community for decades. Watch how they get left out in the snow. It's another hustle. Like I said, go back 30 years, and it was first it was maybe was it what it was 92, 93. That was about 30. Damn, I'm old. God, Lord have His mercy. I'm coming up on Social Security. Anyway, go back and look at the Rockefeller drug laws, and Russell Simmons said he's going to rescue poor black folks. Amara Inya. I ain't going to Amara. Wait, I'm sorry. Somebody asked me if I was going to Amara Inya's fish fry. Nope, I'm not going to her Mercury fish fry. Toxic fish fry for toxic politics. But no, I digress. Remember, Russell Simmons was going to save us from the Rockefeller drug laws. And at the same dude that was going to rescue us from the Rockefeller drug laws started doing, pyramid scheme hustle, the rush card and baby fat card. Got black folks tied up into these high interest rate, prepaid credit card. Oh, it's so, and my thing is, if I was a rapper, if I had a wicked jump shot, the first thing you should do if you want to put your money up is do like Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali went out to the scholars and say, okay, what can I do? And instead of coming to tell the people what they could do, they offered themselves up. They say, look, my platform, my money, my status, my talents, what will you have of me? What do you need me to do? Where do you need me to stand? It's just like LeBron James' school. Y'all all did the Holy Ghost dance for LeBron James school. And then you go look at the board. You go look at the white woman who runs LeBron James charities. You go look at all the white academics and all the white and damn near half the students. Y'all thought he was doing something for black folks. And y'all saw it some old integrationist tax shelter. But I digress. I did a whole show on this called Celebrity Saviors and the Death of Black Leadership. Y'all can go get that show. It's in the archives. But again, when these celebrities self-expose, not that I think there's going to be any collective consequences, but shout out to Kodak Black, shout out to Money Mayweather, and I encourage all other rich black people. I encourage all other black people. Yeah, I'll post some of those articles on the white libertarian conservative. I'll post that on my website, diallokenyatta.com. Brother Adolfo's asking about, he wants me to back up my claim that the right wing is getting on board with the prison reform. So, yeah, I can make that happen, Captain. What was I saying? Oh, I appreciate Kodak. I appreciate Mayweather, and I would like to encourage all contemptuous black elites, all of you superior, better than the rest of us black elites, to be honest about your contempt, about your indifference, about your feelings of superiority over the rest of us. Be honest about your true allegiance with the capitalist system and the white elites above the black sufferers. Please continue. Follow in the footsteps of Money Mayweather and Kodak Black. So when the people make a stance, come out and mock it. Tell the truth about how you really feel about it. How you feel these silly peasants need to learn in their place. How you don't follow. Please continue that trend. I hope that's something that keeps going. Now, as far as us dealing with it like we should, I can't speak to that. But at least I think it's a start. Moving on. This is crazy. This is a story that's trending. That kind of frustrates me. But I shouldn't let it. There's the first hijab wearing member of Congress. We had 2 Muslim women elected to Congress. And one of those Muslim women who was elected to Congress was a woman by Ilhan Omar. And she wears a hijab. Where the other sister that got elected to Congress, she's not she don't wear a hijab. Me, I'm not a big fan of the hijab. And you got one camp that says the hijab is oppressive, and you have another camp that says the hijab is liberating. And I think whatever, I don't care. I don't think a hijab it don't mean nothing to me. If that's what you want to do, like I said, I got love for Muslims, but I don't have much respect, admiration, or love for Islam. I don't have no need for any Abrahamic or formal religions. But anyway, she put out this tweet, or she retweeted. She has retweeted this tweet talking about congressional support for Israel. And she had put out a retweet saying that one guy tweeted that, why are so many U.S. politicians so aggressively in support of Israel? And let me find the actual tweet. Man, these tweets, boy. Let's see. Let's see. I just want to find the direct tweet. That she didn't even originate the tweet. She simply retweeted the tweet. Well, anyway, it was a tweet about U.S. politicians' support for Israel, suggesting that it's not really rational that so many U.S. politicians have such aggressive support for Israel, such dogmatic, aggressive support for Israel. And they said this was an anti-Semitic tweet. But what they don't tell you about this anti-Semitic tweet that she retweeted was tweeted out by a Semite, Max Blumenthal. Max Blumenthal, who is a Jew, who is of Jewish lineage, whose family had family members die in the Holocaust, who has fought against anti-Semitism, who has fought against the right, neo-Nazi, Max Blumenthal, who has exposed other true anti-Semitism. He is a journalist, he's a researcher, he's a writer. So Max Blumenthal, I can't, did they watch the internet of this tweet? It seems like I just had it up, and I figure it's everywhere, so I ain't tripping. So anyway, Max Blumenthal put out a tweet. Where is it? Lord have mercy. Anyway, she retweeted a Jew by the name of Max Blumenthal, who had a critical question to ask about Israel. And everybody's saying she's anti-Semitic for retweeting something a Jew said that she was in agreement with. And so then someone said, basically Max Blumenthal said, so Max Blumenthal is still talking about it. I don't even follow Max Blumenthal. I didn't know that I didn't follow. If you had asked me if I followed Max Blumenthal on Twitter, I would have said yes. But I guess I don't. Anyway, Max Blumenthal says, why are so many U.S. politicians so rabidly in support of Israel? They are more aggressive about supporting the Israeli policy than they are U.S. policy. And, why is that? So she retweeted that. And then they said, well, why do you think it is? And then Ilhan Omar said it's all about the Benjamins, suggesting that the money that Jewish lobbyist firms like AIPAC and Jewish Voices for Israel and the conservative Republican Jewish factions, that they put a lot of money into U.S. Congressional and senatorial elections, and that, as a result, is the reason why U.S. politicians, including all of the Congressional Black Caucus, are so rabidly pro-Israel. She said it's about the money. And they were like, how dare you? Associating Jews with money is anti-Semitic. Saying that Jews have money and use their money to influence politics, that's anti-Semitic. Who cares if it's factual? Who cares if it can be confirmed? Who cares if there's document upon document? Who cares if campaign donations are public record and you can go into the public record and find how much money various Jewish interests, individuals, who cares of the fact that, even the racist, truly anti-Semitic Donald Trump, one of his biggest individual campaign donors was a rabid Zionist, casino magnate. Who cares about the facts? It's about the feelings. And so anyway, this woman is right to say that it doesn't make sense that Israel is an apartheid state engaged in a genocide, that Israel is in violation of all of the Geneva codes. Israel uses illegal weapons, tortures, illegal detentions. Israel is aggressing against its nature. Israel has invaded Syria. There's supposed to be this clandestine has assassinated, who has had the Mossad assassinate Iranian scientists. Israel violates human rights, violates international norms and laws, thumbs its nose at basic civil behavior, and is engaged in genocide against the Palestinian nations on the land of Palestine that was appropriated by the British to establish the nation of Israel. Not to mention even the black Jews, and there are many Palestinian Jews and other people, even though Israel is the Jewish homeland, if you're not a white Israeli, you're discriminated against. They just had millions of not millions, but thousands of African Jews march down the streets of Israel because of violations of their human rights. And all this goes on where the Congressional Black Caucus, the NAACP, and your beloved first black president, Barack Obama, who are all dyed-in-the-wool Zionists. In fact, there are more Christian Zionists in America than there are Israeli Zionists all around the world. So when this one politician out of literally thousands says, this Israel thing, it's something we might want to think about. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. And then she punked out. Ilhan Omar punked out. Allah got pushed back by Yahweh. She punked out. She couldn't even point out the fact, how are you calling me anti-Semitic? If I'm anti-Semitic, then Mr. Max Blumenthal, who, by definition, by birthright, is an Israeli citizen, has all the rights of a citizen. He could be born. You could be in America right now, whatever religion you are. You could convert to Judaism. Today, born and raised in the United States, you can convert to Judaism and then move to Israel with full citizenship rights, like that, overnight. And while people who were born and raised and been living in Palestine, that territory of Palestine and Israel for generations, for thousands of years, don't have basic rights in that country. It don't make no sense. And it's good to question, like, this is absolutely absurd. I understand why. I understand. I've spoke about this before, but, it's rare that you get someone to the level of a congressman. You might have some, insane alderman or city council member in some small backwater hick town that might speak to these issues honestly. But nobody at the federal level, at the congressional, senatorial, executive, or federal judiciary level is allowed to speak on this. And then and not only did Donald Trump said pretty much the same thing she said when he first launched his run for president. Donald Trump also stated that the Jewish donors own politicians. And he said that the reason why AIPAC and the other Israeli and Jewish political bodies and NGOs don't support him is because they can't buy him. And because if they can't buy and own the politicians, then they only support the politicians that they own. Donald Trump said the exact same thing that Umar said, but Donald Trump today is saying that she should resign, that she should step down from Congress. And she punked out and apologized for saying the truth. And by the time they got you apologizing for telling the truth, but they're also saying, well, Ilhan Omar, she's a freshman congresswoman. So if she doubles down on this stance, if she backs up this position that she has, then other politicians won't work with her, and she won't get anything passed. So she has to, again, like every other politician, sell out Not only the Palestinian, because when you sell out the Palestinian cause, and this is the thing about reverberation, and you ain't got to take my word on it. You got to look at Kwame Ture, who was a staunch anti-Zionist. But he said, when you have support for Israel or when you denounce the Palestinian cause, you are setting up a global system of oppression. You are supporting imperialism. And you are damaging not just the Palestinian cause, but you are damaging the interest of African people throughout the greater Middle East and even social justice movements in the United States. How so? Who was the number one ally of the apartheid South Africa? Who was the one that was arming and equipping the South African and then in the Battle of Zimbabwe, the Rhodesians? Who was one of the fiercest allies of the colonial forces in the last days of European direct colonization of the African continent? Who was the weapon supplier, the financier, and the number one ally of white colonists on the African continent? Israel. Israel was the even when the United States has said, fine, we'll boycott apartheid South Africa, Israel was ride or die. Was ride or die for the white minority rule in South Africa. Israel was supplying the weapons. And then when you went into the stage of neo-colonialism, when they wanted to overthrow, who was the number one ally of the CIA and the United States in subverting African sovereignty and true African liberation? Again, it was Israel. And the United States loves to play, because the United States is on the Security Council. The United States loves to play the high and mighty champion of democracy. So oftentimes they outsource its wet work, and wet work means bloody work, assassinations, overthrows, coup d'etat. It outsources them to Israel. Or the U.S. gives Israel billions of dollars in quote-unquote aid and support, but that aid and support is nothing more than weapons. And then Israel is allowed, because the United States, because of its own regulations, is not allowed to sell weapons to certain nations. So they give it to the nations they can, and then they resell them. And also, let's come to it. Maybe you don't care about Africa. Maybe you're one of those scumbag ADOS, or because now Ann Coulter told them to change their name. And racist Ann Coulter said, don't call yourself American descendants of slaves. Call yourself descendants of American slaves. So Ann Coulter renamed the ADOS the DOAS. Whatever. But let's say you don't care nothing about what happens to our brothers and sisters on the African continent. Who do you think trains the police officers in crowd control tactics? Who do you think trained the Ferguson Police Department and how to handle unruly citizens? U.S. police departments receive government grants to go to Israel to learn how to train to control and suppress unruly mass populations. So there is all sorts of research saying that the nation of Israel, every unjust, dictatorial, genocidal, discriminatory regime across the world has in one way or another been aided or supported by Israel, but via the United States. Israel is the bagman for the United States. It's not just the money. Money is fiat. They print money. They got machines and they print money. And U.S. money is based in nothing. It's based in nothing. The U.S. dollar is not backed by anything but the U.S. willingness and capacity to kill anybody who denies that that dollar has value. Here's a dollar. I reject it. Then I kill you. That's how the U.S. dollar works. The U.S. is the world reserve currency. And every nation that says we're going off of the world reserve currency, we're no longer going to use the U.S. as our world currency. We're not going to, in order to do, let's say you have your own currency of your nation and you want to do trade with another nation on somewhere else in the world, both of y'all have to convert your own national currency to dollars, do the trade, and then reconvert it back. And that's what sustains the U.S. dollar. And if you try to go say, well, let me trade my currency directly for your currency, or forget the money anyway, it don't mean anything. Let's go resource for resource. Let's trade goods for goods, services for services. Then you become a communist, you become a terrorist, you become someone who needs to be bombed. You become the troika of evil, the axis of evil, and the Americans are really stupid. So any bright, shiny TV with all kind of evening news, new terrorist emerged somewhere in the world that we need to go kill people. And the Americans will be like, woo, freedom fries, America, USA. And they will support the killing, and we will tell our sons and grandsons, hey, go enlist and go over there and kill those people. That's how the US dollar works. And there are some areas where the US does not want to tread, where the US don't want to get its name dirty, and that's when they call up Israel. So it's not the money. That is part of it, the money that Israel puts into politics, but the money that Israel puts into politics is money Israel gets from the United States. So it's a circle jerk. So it's not really the money. It's the strategic alliance. The oil reserves, and let me tell you something else, and this is what the Zionists need to understand. The moment that Israel is no longer a strategic resource, is no longer needed to be a bagman, the United States will turn its back so fast on Israel. Look what they did to Mobutu Sese Seko. They propped Mobutu up for 30 years in Congo. Everybody like, oh, he's such a strong man. He's such a dictator. And the moment that the European forces and the U.S. said, we're done with you, he was gone. Same thing with Papa Doc Duvalier. And in fact, the moment that Israel no longer becomes an asset for the United States empire, or as the U.S. empire fully collapsed under its own corruption and contradictions, it's over for Israel. And they are an island, but they got nukes. But the nukes are suicidal. There's no way in that limited region for Israel to use its nukes in such a way that would not cause severe blowback. And then you have nuclear-armed, crazy-ass Hindus in India, nuclear-armed, crazy-ass Muslims in Pakistan, and nuclear-armed, crazy-ass Zionist Jews in Israel. And they want to tell us to be scared of North Korea nukes. North Koreans are atheists. They're very rational. They ain't got no prophecy of the world burning in hellfire. I trust North Korea with nukes more than I trust Israel, Pakistan, and India. Because all three of those countries had these crazy delusions about the end of the world and burning in hellfire flames. They out of their damn mind. So leave North Korea alone. Let's go take the nukes from the Pakistan, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I'm saying the United States will not hesitate to turn its back on Israel when the time becomes convenient. And if you look at, like I said, and listen, as crazy as it sounds, there are more Christian Zionists in the world than there are Jewish Zionists. And the Christian Zionist says, before Jesus can make his triumphant return on a flaming chariot pulled by lions and unicorns, before Jesus come back and not come back as the lamb, but come back as the lion and get his retribution, bound the devil, and all that other insane, feverish delusion of end-time prophecy, before that can happen, Israel must be subdued. Half of the Jews have to be slaughtered by the infidels, by the Muslims, and the other half of the Jews will convert to Christianity. And then the seal will break, the Ark of the Covenant will open, Jesus will return, and it will be the rapture, Armageddon, and all that other nonsense. They really literally believe this would happen. So the Christian Zionists are literally propping up Israel. They want Israel to aggress against its neighbors so that they could bring about the war of Armageddon, and so that more than half of the Jews across the globe can be put to the sword and slaughtered, and the other half of the Jews become Christians. So the Jews are being supported in their genocidal efforts because the Christians want them to be subjected to yet another genocide. If you don't believe me, just look it up. This isn't even anything this is not some Illuminati secret code. This is what they write public and publish and make available to everybody. The evangelical, the Christian Zionists, they tell it. They're not even ashamed of this nonsense. And yet we had one little freshman congresswoman in her little hijab coming straight out of Somalia. One little congresswoman is like, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to go ahead and speak a little bit of truth. I'm not even speaking truth in my capacity as a congresswoman. I'm not in the House and Senate, because anything you say on the House and Senate floor becomes part of the permanent record. She didn't even walk down into the chambers and say it. She just retweeted. She didn't even say it. She just retweeted a Jew. A Jew. And she let them call her anti-Semitic, even though homegirl couldn't even say, well, if I'm anti-Semitic, then Max Blumenthal is anti-Semitic. And if everybody's anti-Semitic, nobody's anti-Semitic. No, she came out and apologized. And she said that she's learning. She said that she didn't know no better. You know, when I was looking and seeing one nation contain people, cut people off from resources, build a wall around them, slaughter them with impunity, dump illegal weapons on them, dump white phosphorus, and bulldoze their homes, sterilize them, and separate people according to their ethnicity, their race, and their religion, I thought I was looking at genocide. I didn't know I was looking at God's will. I didn't know I was looking at biblical. So she's like, well, it smelled like genocide. It tastes like genocide. It walked like genocide. It talked like genocide. But how dare I? And then how dare me say, when I said that U.S. politicians are subservient, it's curious how U.S. politicians are so subservient to a foreign nation, and all the U.S. politicians condemned me, validating and confirming my accusation. She's learning though. She's learning. And let me tell you something. And I know a lot of black people are just so pro-black. They so slick. I don't care nothing about them Arabs. I don't care nothing about Israel. I know y'all so pro-black that y'all don't even know, but all things are connected. You're under a global system of oppression. Your local police department couldn't control and oppress and commit atrocities in your community if not for Israel, if not for NATO, if not for recolonization and neocolonialism in Africa. All that boils down to the cops stomping on your neck in your neighborhood. It's all interconnected. Whether it's the weapons and the tactical gear that he's wearing that he wouldn't have if the U.S. wasn't a global imperial army with so much surplus that they could freely supply our local police departments with military-grade weapons. It's all connected. And the dudes, even the trap houses, one of the biggest manufacturers and distributors of prescription and illegal drugs is the nation of Israel. They make big money off of the illicit drug trade and the illicit organ trade. Y'all talking about all these missing children, all these missing black girls. Go look up illegal drug trade, illegal organ trafficking, and the nation of Israel again. So you want to feel like even if you're not a humanitarian, you're only concerned about black people. The nation of Israel has been racist to black people within its borders and has set up racist and endorsed racist system and oppression of people all around the world. And I ain't got no chances of ever being elected to Congress, so I guess I can comfortably tell the truth. I wish a Congresswoman Omar hadn't punked out. And let me tell you something for the rest of y'all politicians. The first politicians to speak truth to this and stand on their ground, stand on principle, stand on evidence, stand on the historical record of Israel. The first politician to do this will be one of the greatest politicians in the history of the United States. Obama punked out. Obama was already laid out butt naked, moist on the floor before the feet of Netanyahu. And they were like, well, you're not moist enough. We love that you're laying prostrate on the ground before us, but you're not groveling hard enough. Obama quadruple super duper punked out before Israel had every opportunity. And they still called him a shine boy. They still disrespected him. And again, go look up Max Blumenthal. When Obama was elected in 2008, this same quote unquote anti-Semitic Jew, Max Blumenthal, went to Israel. Oh, let me give a credit. Cynthia McKinney told the truth, but I'll get to that in a second. Max Blumenthal took a camera to Israel and just walked the streets of Tel Aviv and went up to various Jews and said, what do you think about Obama's election? And you never heard so much vitriol. You would think he took that camera to 1942 Alabama, to Mississippi in 38, because all they could say was monkey, black monkey, bunky, N-word, monkey. That's they hated Obama. And if you look at Obama from 2008 to 2016, everything Israel wanted, they got served to them by the Obama administration on the silver platter, and they were still on some monkey this, monkey that. But there was a politician who told it, who was honest about Israel, Cynthia McKinney. And they went and got another black woman to run against her and kick her out of her district. And they've been hounding and harassing her ever since. But there's something new here. This is the Trump era. She did that decade ago. This is the Trump era. All the rules have changed. The rules have changed. Now you can come down. Now this is the time of the empire, where the empire is in such a state of decay, where all norms, traditions, and standards, everything's up for grabs at this point. So you can say things that used to get you impeached. You used to say things that couldn't get you elected, or do things that used to get you impeached that are totally fine now. Trump opened that door. So I'm saying the politician now in the Trump era. Cynthia McKinney, she is truly an icon and before her time. And as far as elected officials, she's one of the greatest. She's up there with Adam Clayton Powell. Shout out to Cynthia McKinney, but she was a little jumpy to the gun. Or she jumped the gun a little bit too soon. I think now, if Umar had doubled down, Umar should have brought Max Blumenthal onto her social media site. There's way too much evidence. But she punked out. And now she's going to get with the program. Like Ocasio-Cortez. Now they got her on there talking about capitalism and socialism are not mutually exclusive. She was right, but the context in which she said it was an issue. She said you could be democratic socialist, doesn't mean you can't be capitalist. What the hell is she talking about? But, you know, all of these women in Congress, hijab wearing women, trans women, and women of color, and all this, you know, who gives a damn who's sitting there in Congress if the policies are identical? Who gives a damn? Well, I didn't get any acceptance of my offers for love advice. I'm kind of hurt. Nobody called in at 312-985-7834. Y'all player hating. Y'all don't want love. Y'all don't want me to fix your relationships. Y'all don't want me to tell you how to get yourself in order, to be the love machine, to enjoy good sex and fulfilling relationships. Then fine. Fine. Don't call in. You're hurting yourself. You're playing yourself. You know, your loss, not mine. But let's move on. I did title this show Love in the Time of Capitalism, which is from a novel that was made into a movie, Love in the Time of Cholera. So since y'all don't want any specific, let me give y'all some general advice. Let me tell you what the problem is, because I see a lot of memes, a lot of people call for black love. A lot of people talk about, you know, the black family. And a lot of people online make this big profession, I don't date outside my race. As if that's something, like, it's kind of like I raised my kids. Just, you know, background stuff that y'all want accolades from. Just basic stuff that I think should be pretty much the standard, not really something worthy of professing. And you say y'all don't want to hear about love, y'all want to talk about institutionalized hate. Fine, y'all want to be that way. Y'all suck to see. That's why people won't join the revolution. Yeah, that's why nobody want to join the revolution. They don't think we have good sex, and we don't dance. But I digress. Let me tell you one of the main problems with love and black love. Well, first of all, if you read The Iceman's Inheritance by William Bradley, oh, and wow, it's 8:36. Wait a second, hold on, before I get into that. You're listening to the Bro Diallo Show, broadcasting at the Q4 Studios, Q4 Radio, AM 1680, City of Chicago. You can also hear live broadcasts of the Bro Diallo Show and many other wonderful programmers at www.q4.org. You can also find Q4 Radio programs broadcasting live at the TuneIn app and iTunes Radio. Just search Q4 or Q4 Radio. Now, that's out of the way. Let me tell you the problem with black love and why we have so much trouble finding love. And here's the thing. We talk about love, and as much as people talk about it, read books about it, and all of that, it seems that we just don't really have a rational grasp of the concept. Now, one of my favorite definitions of love comes out of The Iceman's Heritage by William Bradley. William Bradley, who's an archaeologist out of Canada, he's a Canadian archaeologist, stated that most cultures don't have a concept of what he called romantic love. And he gave an example of in Egypt, the two highest virtues, like in America and Western culture, romantic cultures, the highest virtue is love. And you love to see all these movies. You notice how the highest expression of love in Western culture is death. Love is something you must suffer and or die from, and that's one of the highest validations of love, to sacrifice your life and death. You know, and Freud talked about this, the eros and the pathos, the love death impulse. So love is really not the thing what we think it is. When but again, they come tell us this is capitalism, and instead of looking at the evidence of what capitalism is, we just take white folks' word for what capitalism is. They come and tell us the same thing about democracy. Instead of looking at the evidence and the historical record of what democracy, what they say, what they mean when they say democracy, we just take their word for it. Same thing with love. So if you look, what's the greatest love story ever told in Western culture? Romeo and Juliet, two people that commit suicide, murder, suicide, death. And the fact that Romeo died for her, and then she woke up, she had took a poison and pretended to be dead, and so Romeo took a real poison and died, and then she took Romeo's dagger, and you white folks, they get erections and they get all moist behind this death of two children, and they were like 12 years old. They weren't even old enough to be legally having the sex. They were like 13 and 16. They were children. Two dead children is the greatest love story to ever come out of Western culture. And we go along with it, and we like, yeah, and dudes rapping. How many rappers, ladies, men rappers call themselves Romeo and Joe Cooley? Remember that? Joe Cooley and Romeo. Anyway, I'm old. This old school rap, boy. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have to play some of that on the way home. Got my taste buds. But anyway, but that's not it. If you look at most triumphant love stories, their love must conquers all. And star-crossed lovers. And they always associate love with death. And we never really pick up on that. We never pick up on that. Destruction. Really, love is about ownership, conquest, death, and destruction. And we think romantic love. Who were the Romans? They were some vicious imperialists. Crucifixion, remember your beloved Savior, God. Jesus is love. God is love. God is a mass murderer. And God is love. Most parts, when you take the concept of love from Western culture, it's all about mass slaughter, suffering, sacrifice, and death. I mean, I would take eroticism over love. It's really a twisted concept. But Michael Bradley stated that most cultures, African cultures, Native, Aboriginal cultures, Asian cultures, did not have this concept of romantic love or just basic love. And he said what love really is in the Western context, in the Western mind state, in the mind of the Iceman's inheritance, of Urugu. Love is that state. He said that European aggression is so pervasive that Europeans are in a state of predatory aggression to such a state where they had to create this artificial place in their mind, this artificial status where they can stop projecting their aggression at certain individuals, and they can radiate, and those two individuals to come together and unify and project their aggression outwards. So he said that is the state of love. The state of love in the Western context is when a white person is able to unite with another white person in a non-aggressive pact and to project their aggression outward. So love is a state of détente, is a reprieve from aggression. And he talked about in North Africa, the highest concepts was purpose and stability. That was the two highest virtues. And when you went into a relationship, when you wanted to woo someone, you would say, listen, I come to you with a higher purpose, and I promise you a level of stability that will allow us to work towards the highest purpose. Don't nobody want to hear no songs about purpose and stability. If I could sing, I mean, you can't get it. You can't seduce no woman talking about something. You gotta talk about love. Saying I am a vicious conqueror. I can bring home the bacon. I can go slaughter animals. I can go slaughter enemies, and I come home strong and the love for you. So you will not be victim to my slaughter. I will not use my aggression, my manliness to slaughter you. That's what love is. So you're the one person who will be exempt from the ravages of me. Because I love you. I won't kill you. Unless I need to kill to show my love for you. I'll kill everything else, even myself. I will destroy myself to demonstrate my non-aggression towards you. I don't think, and as Scheherazade, I mean, not many things Scheherazade Ali said are worth quoting. But one thing she said that is worth quoting is she said, you can't be romantic because you are not a Roman. And so what are we saying? Europeans say the height of European development, the roots of European civilization is Rome. So when they say romantic, they saying romance is essentially, being romantic is essentially being white supremacist. Is you're essentially saying that the roots of civilization, the height of human cultivation, intellectual, physical stature, if you go look at the Roman statues and the Roman, it's really not just Rome, it's Greco-Roman. But the problem is that the reason why the Greeks don't get as much props as the Romans is because the Greeks were not as imperialistic as the Romans. So the Romans were able to take the Greek culture, the founding of Western civilization, and spread it across the known world. So that one element lacking, global imperialism, is why the Greeks had to give props to the Romans, had to take a backseat to the Romans, because that level of conquest and warfare wasn't as strong with the Greeks as it was with the Romans. But really, it's the Greco-Roman culture. And that's why you got black people, you want to rise to the heights of academia and camaraderie, you got to join a Greek fraternity. If you want to have a successful relationship, it's got to be a romantic relationship. But that is really a white supremacist mind state. And not in terms of just this Confederate flag waving neo-Nazi. It's much deeper than that. It's a white supremacist mind state, and to this extent that the white philosophies, white history, white civilization is the model. And even if we're more technologically advanced than the Romans, their fundamental philosophies and ideas, their outlook, their worldview is what has given humanity the opportunity to rise to the heights that we have risen. And if we remain grounded in those ideas, and they say if you look at the European Renaissance and the Enlightenment era, they all go back at the same time that was coming. Many of the Roman architecture, Roman sculptures, Roman art, Roman philosophies, and Greco-Roman came to prominence. And whenever, to make America great again, what does Trump want to do to make America great again? He wants to strengthen the empire, strengthen the military, this machismo, this Spartan, Greco-Roman ideas. Every time white folks' ego get a little ego hurt, they go back to Greece and Rome. They find their strength there. And so when you got black people all over the world trying to relate to each other, where the woman wants her man to be romantic towards her and the man wants his woman to be romantic toward him, that means not treat me right, but treat me white. And there are romantic symbols, rituals, and even love songs and stories that date back further than the Romans from our ancestors. We ain't got no use for that. We have not rediscovered those roots. You know, the way we structured families, the way we measured one's values individually, even how we preserved our physical health, our sexual stamina, how we organize our family units, how we birth children and cultivate them into the tribe, to the community, into the nation. We ain't got no use for that. We just try to be romantic. So that's something that I think is valid. And here's another thing: love in the time of capitalism. Relationships have become a commodity. And like Marx said, many of you who never read Marx, you're engaged in Marxism. Marx says that the economy is the driver, is the engine of everything else. Culture, civilization, everything. Education, entertainment, all elements of human life are driven by the economy. That's historical and dialectical materialism. And black people, just to say it a better way, you got to have loot in your suit because your honey needs money. Or that song, ain't nothing going on but the rent. And how we have put our intimate, interpersonal bonds. And we have made money, material resources, fiat currency, the central driver. Meaning that if you have money, then your love is valid. If you don't have money, your love is not valid. So if you don't have money, then people, you ain't got no right. You talking about you trying to holler at these women, or you all up in this man's face. You got to get your own. How dare you have a child, reproduce, give birth to a child into the world, and you ain't got the money. But if you got money, if you're like, even if you're like Mayweather, a sociopath, an illiterate, self-centered, individualistic sociopath, he can have children, as many children as he wants, by as many children as he wants, because he's got fiat, even though he's going to produce a bunch of little nutty sociopaths. Or you could be like Donald Trump, an abusive, philandering sociopath, psychopath. Wait, he's a psychopath. Let's get it straight. But nobody criticizes him for having 3 wives or having dozens of children because he's got money. And this is literally, biologically and psychologically and intellectually eroding the development of humanity. Using an artificial fiat, and the way you get fiat is by engaging in some of the most psychopathic behaviors that have ever been conceived of. And so we put a economic yardstick or economic hindrance to reproduction. So you're guaranteeing that the most psychopathic people have the greatest chance of reproduction. Now, there used to be in human evolution that the people that had the greatest chance of reproduction needed certain skills that got passed on through humanity. You had to be good at hunting. You had to be good at collecting food. You had to be good at cooperation and sharing. And so those are the people that were most likely to reproduce. People that were not, even if you were a great hunter, but you weren't willing to share your food, or you weren't willing to work with and cooperate with others, you could go off and be a nomad off by yourself. But you needed also have a high level of empathy, a high level to be able to connect to and anticipate the needs and meet the needs of other people. These are evolutionary traits within human beings that guaranteed that you would be able to pass your genetic traits on to the next generation. Oh, I got a call at the end. You're live on the air, caller. State your name or alias and where you're calling from.
Good morning, Diallo. This is ML. How you doing?
I'm well. Hold on a second. I got some feedback. Okay. What's up, sis? How can I fix your life? Hello? Hello? Yes. How you doing, sis?
I'm good. You know, you got me laughing. When you first started talking about calling me about romantic advice, I was like, is he serious? What are we doing right now?
I'm trying to fix get people so that y'all can have some good love, some intimate relationship, and some strong sex. I'm trying to help my people. That's part of the struggle.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I've always had this view that, you know, we as black people pay way too much attention to love, because every time a black man says something about, you know, submission and polygamy and all these other things, it's all about, oh, that's how we're going to get revolution and we're going to get liberation, which is a damn lie. So I had this thought at one point that we all should stop, you know, with the romance and the intimacy for a couple, because, you know, but we're not going to lack for black children. People are going to procreate. But we need to let that go for a minute so that we can focus on our struggle. I've heard that some, like, athletes, you know, at some point go abstinent before their big match or their big game or whatever it is, just because they're focusing their energies elsewhere. And I kind of, feel like we should do that as a people, because we just put way too much emphasis on, who we land with. It is like once I heard about black women understand, like, our struggles, and what I'm saying, how most of us live make under $30,000 a year and poor and blah blah blah. And, I'm on a post and everybody was agreeing, even black women, yeah, that's true, and we struggling, da da da. But then the next post, some black woman talking about she needed her man to make six figures and take care of her and pay all the bills. And I'm just like, well, how exactly is that supposed to happen? So when your vagina becomes, in the mix, all of a sudden you need six figures. But just as a people, understanding the system we live in, we poor. But when it's time about, when you're talking about, having sex or being in a relationship, oh, now I need a man to pay all my bills. We're very much hypocrites, and we contradict each other, and it honestly makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I just wanted to say that, and just tell you that I'm sitting here laughing. I'm like, is it April Fool's Day? What is he talking about?
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to reserve. This is a tradition I started from the beginning of the Bro Diallo show on around Valentine's Day. That's the day I get to talk about love, relationships, sex, and romance. So, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think I think sex is central to revolution. In fact, there's a book called "Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism." And every struggle, there's always any real political and economic revolution, there's always an element of a sexual revolution embedded in that. So I don't think we can escape it, ML.
No, we can't escape it, but I definitely think we need to focus, on our liberation more than we're focusing on who's sleeping with who and who doing, who's taking care of who, and that type of thing. I definitely think we need to focus on actually getting free, before we try to focus on, quote unquote, the black family. Black family ain't going to be anything if we're still, enslaved under the system. So, so that's just kind of how I feel. But I bought the Iceman's Inheritance recently, and I'm going to start digging into it. I've already read Dr. Zen's books, so I already know, what these people do, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading that.
All right, yeah. Well, maybe, maybe Chris will put that on our reading list for Iceman's Inheritance. It's a very interesting read. Iceman's Inheritance.
Yeah, I just ordered it a couple weeks ago, so I have it now. So I'm just gonna start delving into that. But I'm listening, and you just keep me laughing. I'm telling you, I've been cracking up all morning.
All right, sis, I appreciate that. But you
Talk to you later.
you trying to throw ice water on our passion. That ain't right though.